There was a job for angry men. Men who had been abused as boys and were comfortable with the dark parts of their mind. We would brutalize men, drive spikes into their hands and feet, gamble for their final earthly possessions, and watch them die. Then we would go home and have supper with our wives and children. It was about 8:30 in the morning when we led Jesus and the others to Calvary that day. I knew of Jesus, but didn't really know Jesus. A friend stationed in Galilee told me how he had gone to Jesus and asked him to heal his servant. Jesus never even touched the servant. He merely spoke a word, and the man was made well. My friend was convinced it was a miracle. My friend told me that Jesus was not like the typical would-be messiahs. He wasn't raising up an army to drive us out of the country. He taught the people to love their enemies, to pray for those who harass them, and to turn the other cheek when struck. I told my friend that we could use a few more men like him in Judea. Yet, here he was, being marched to the skull, the place of crucifixion, after having been beaten and bloodied by my men. As I looked at him, naked, the crown of thorns upon his brow, for the first time in a long time, I felt a deep regret for what I was about to commend my men to do. Yet, this is my job. And he was just another Jew. Pushing back any semblance of compassion from the recesses of my mind, I gave the order for them to nail him to the tree. I watched him throughout the day, listening as he spoke. He took the abuse hurled at him with dignity and strength. It was as if he, with his crown of thorns, really was king, and we were his rebellious subjects, whose rebellion would soon be put to an end. Yet, far from calling for our destruction, this king pled for our mercy. Remarkable. I thought, simply remarkable. I watched as dark clouds rolled in at noon. An eerie feeling lingered for 3 hours. It was as if the heavens themselves were proclaiming the darkness of the deeds we were witnessing. Something felt dreadfully wrong. Then a small earthquake shook the ground. Some people fled in fear, terrified that this might be a sign from God. But I still stood there. At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out, "I thirst." One of the religious leaders surprised me by breaking away from his colleagues and gave Jesus a drink. Then Jesus said, "It is finished." What a strange thing to say as he approached his death. This was a cry of victory, a man successfully completing a mission. Just before he breathed his last, he gathered his strength, pulled himself up by the nails in his wrist, and said in a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." Then he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. It was the most remarkable death I'd ever seen, and I have seen many. I stood there looking at this man, and I was overwhelmed by a sense of fear. What had we done? I turned to my men and said to them, "Surely this man was innocent. He was, as he acclaimed, the Son of God." And for the first time in years, I wept.